the money.
Do your policies have enabled any of this crisis in the border that you're rattling it down?
I've asked for thousands more of everything from judges. And I love people who say, the blood of liberty, or the tree of liberty is watered with the blood of patriots. Well, guess what, man? I didn't see a whole lot of patriots that are out there walking around making sure that we have these weapons. Well, and if you really want to worry about the government, you need an F-16. We have fewer democracies in the world today than we did 15 years ago. Fewer. Not more, fewer. We have fewer democracies in the world today than we did 15 years ago. Fewer. Not more, fewer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Rescue Michigan Weekly live stream. We've got a lot to talk about this week. It's been an exciting week in Michigan politics. Welcome to our guests. We have first-time guest on the show, Todd Gilman, who is a member of the Michigan Republican Party's Budget Committee. We have regular friend of the show, Amber Harris, back once again, and increasingly recurring guests, Andy Seabolt and Bree Mogenberg. Welcome, everybody, and welcome everybody in the chat. We are seeing all of your chats on Facebook and on YouTube, and even over there on Rumble as well. And actually, I believe we even do get see comments posted live on X. So if you're not already following us there, you can tune in there as well. If perhaps you're not entirely sure that YouTube is a safe platform to be watching videos on, because sometimes creators just going to disappear from that channel from time to time. But anyway, welcome everybody. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Adam.
We have a lot to talk about, and let me just say first off, and let me be clear here. My panel, I don't speak for my panel. Their views are all their own, and if they disagree with me, they are certainly welcome to chime in at any time. But let me just start by saying that there is a certain someone who really needs to just get out of Michigan Republican Party politics, because we're done with you. We don't like you because you've let us down. So please, just please go away. You had your bully pulpit. You broke our trust. We're done. Let's move on. Please just go away. Justin Amash. Justin Amash is running for U.S. Senate. And
is he running though, or he's just like putting it out there?
Well, we'll see. Maybe he's just putting his feelers out there. But once they say I'm forming an exploratory committee, that usually means their intention is to go for it. And it's just like they're already starting to put the pieces in place here. And look, I'm an old Ron Pauler. Getting Justin Amash elected to Congress was like our big thing after 2008. Right. That was our mission in life, was getting him in. He was until Rand got elected to the Senate, he was the new Ron Paul in Congress. He got that legacy, and he decided to throw it all away, supporting Trump's impeachment. Which I had a chat with a guy in my text messages today who's also an old Ron Pauler, and he still supports Amash and says, "Oh, the impeachment wasn't a big deal." I beg to differ. That was treason, is what that was. But he,
well,
you know what, he wants to run.
Battling Meyer. They both are from the West Coast. They battle each other.
Yep.
Why
They're both
not?
from Grand Rapids. They're both never Trumpers. They're both impeachers. Go for it.
That's
hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe Amash will help out. Maybe Amash will help in that race.
Right?
But who knows? But anyway, so there's obviously
my curiosity is who's going to run that campaign. Who is it? What consultants available? Who is it?
I don't think Amash ever really had.
I was just gonna say, like, does this have anything to do? Didn't Lena Epstein just send something out about a PAC that was gonna support people that were running for Senate or something? I don't remember. Wasn't there an email about that?
She had mentioned it. Yeah.
She is.
Yeah. So she had to leave.
Yeah.
She left
she
early. All the other candidates were there, and she left.
Well, so do those are they the same thing? Like, is that the Senate level that she's, or they're different? I don't know. I didn't read the whole email. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, that's the Senate level she's talking about, but not for Justin Amash.
Yeah.
Did she say?
I think that might be for whoever makes it through the primary. At least that's kind of what I'm hoping.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's what Daniel Lawless says as well on Facebook. I would hope so. I mean, who knows?
There's just
Mark
been so
Ashley
many
Price
emails,
says,
right? To keep up with them.
Yeah, Mark Ashley Price says the political ideology of libertarianism is awesome. Well, here's the problem with that, Mark. That can mean two completely separate things, depending on which libertarian you're talking to. Because there's some libertarians who will say, the government is my mortal enemy. And I'll be like, hell yeah, man. And there'll be some libertarians who will say, oh, I'm a fiscal conservative, but a social liberal. I'm a libertarian. And I'm like, you are sick to me. I don't know who says that, but that's the span
and
of
Adam, you might remember
means.
here. Do you remember just on your example there of libertarianism? 4 years ago, the last U.S. Senate race, did you see who was running as a libertarian? I met her, talked with her at a candidate event, and she said, "Oh yeah, before this, I just got done off working on the Bernie Sanders campaign."
Yeah.
How do you go from socialism to libertarianism in like 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the Libertarian Party is a sandbox for people who are disenchanted with politics, which I understand. But guess what, folks? If they got anywhere, they'd have the exact same problems that everybody else has. The only reason they don't is because they're not really that relevant. Sheila says, Lena is forming a political action committee for U.S. Senate candidates in Michigan. Let's talk about what happened yesterday, folks. And I don't know where any of you guys stand on the candidates. Hoekstra was not my first choice. I was a Vance Patrick supporter. I was very surprised by how few votes he got in the first round. But I will say for Hoekstra, I don't like him because he's a neocon, but he's not in charge of our foreign policy as a state chair. And if he can raise money and support candidates and do it in a fair manner, that's not a bad thing. And the other thing that I found encouraging was I had no idea until I showed up there and saw him in the audience that Mike Bishop was his pick for general counsel for the state party. Which, if you don't know,
was funny.
Yeah, that was impressive because for those who don't know, Mike Bishop was a candidate for attorney general not too long ago. He ran against Bill Schuette.
Yep.
In fact,
it was a while. Adam, to you and me, it wasn't a while ago, but that was 14 years ago now. It was 2010.
Really long time ago.
And I remember because when I went up and told Mike, I said, yeah, before you ran for Congress, I actually voted for you at the state convention against Bill Schuette for attorney general. He said, yeah, how long ago was that? I said, 2010. It's been a while.
Wow. Time flies.
But old timers like you and me, it was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. I also voted for Mike Bishop. Probably the same reason you did. I thought he had a more conservative voting record.
He did. Yep. Absolutely.
And Mike Bishop hasn't been coming around because he's been disenchanted from the Republican Party. So to see him coming back around is really, really cool. And it's bringing all these other people together. And I think just that's the synergy that Pete Hoekstra can bring. Like it or hate it, that's what we need right now to win Michigan. And I think the Senate race is going to be a huge turning point for Michigan, whether we trail down this blue path or can kind of bring us back to center. I think it's the Senate race right now. So it's kind of exciting. It is what it is.
Yeah. And I think Mike Bishop's role might be not just being general counsel. He might basically end up being like a second co-chair because he's not just an attorney like Eric Doster, for example. Like he's a somebody. He would know how to raise money if he wanted to. So we shall see.
It'd be interesting.
The other thing I would say too about Hoekstra is, one of the reasons I did not want to vote for Hoekstra on the first round was because I think it's going to help Christina's narrative to be able to say, oh, look at this, the neocon establishment guy won the race, and now it was all a big scam to take over the GOP with the Washington swampers and blah blah blah. But on the other hand, that also means it's going to piss off the ass roots even more. And I kind of like that. So there's that. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, and I wish Vance Patrick the best. I think you're in an excellent campaign. But getting back to some of the comments people mentioned earlier, talking about Lena Epstein. One of the biggest contrasts that we saw that day was when Vance lost, he kind of choked up a little bit, gave a little speech, and he's like, I love you guys. I'm going to still work to do everything I can for the GOP in Oakland County, and we're going to do all we can to save our country. When Lena Epstein lost, she darted out of there. She was just gone. Everyone's like, And that's what I said. And Pete Hoekstra was like, I want to thank Lena Epstein for running. Where's Lena? She was gone already. Which I
like
think
her email though. That was a good email. I do believe her that she had to jump on a plane. I think that her knack is raising money and talking and getting belief behind her. And I wish Lena the best of luck in that. And there is a role for Lena. There really is.
Yeah, Patty says Hoekstra seems like a nice man, knowledgeable, supportive, and funny. Well, I mean,
He's funny. He's really funny.
I'm sure he can be, but he is a neocon, and there is a big part of me that does not like that. Like I said, I don't think that's entirely relevant to being a state chair, but he was the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee. He said at the event, he's like, and by the way, folks, we're at war. We're at war. I'm like, really? Are we? Was there a congressional declaration of war I'm not aware of? What wars would you like us to get into this time? We're not doing very well in the war with Russia. Randy
Well, he
says,
did play a big part in that Goshen battery plant out in Green Township. So
I'll give him that. Emma Birch asks, is it true that Trump wanted Pete? All I know is that when Vance gave his concession speech, he said he got a call from someone living in Mar-a-Lago asking he support Pete Hoekstra, which sounds to me like an endorsement, but yet not quite one. I think the big way this gets resolved soon is if Trump says something. And my thinking yesterday was he might wait till Wednesday because he's got this New Hampshire primary coming up. But Patty P says maybe Barron called Vance.
Why aren't you on, Patty? What the hell?
Yeah, you're welcome to come on, Patty. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, well, now, of course, now that DeSantis is out, now that Vivek is out.
That was good. That's a really good thing today. Besides the Lions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Aaron Tuckfield says DePerno called and confirmed it. Matt Wilk and JD Glazer's wife confirmed DePerno called. So that's apparently how that worked. There you go.
Aaron, thanks for speaking up. I wasn't going to say that out loud.
Yeah.
And remember, folks,
we saw the record. There was a call. I don't think it was the gardener from Mar-a-Lago.
It was actually a call, and then DePerno missed his call, and then he called him back, and
yeah, someone tried to tell me
Michigan's important. That's the whole gist of it. Michigan is important.
Oh, Pete pointed that out.
Yeah.
You know, that was one thing I think when he was talking to the reporters that he pointed out too. We all know we're a swing state. We have to win.
Yeah,
we have to win.
Jonathan Chapman says he didn't confirm the call. He confirmed Trump wanted him. Well, okay. Either way, and remember, folks, because Christina's Karamos people are constantly saying the precinct delegates elected Christina. It's like, well, first of all, no, they didn't. The state delegates did. Secondly, they did it only in the third ballot. And third of all, they did that over Trump's endorsement of Matt DePerno. So,
and there's a number of us now that voted for Karamo on the third round.
Oh yeah,
and we have a lot of buyer's remorse.
Oh yeah, I know you did, Adam.
Hey, I never voted for. I'm from the 5th district, though. So,
well, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to say anything bad about Matt DePerno because he filed a very spicy legal document the other day. I want to talk about it in the upcoming show, but we'll get to that.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell DePerno to mark this minute in this video to cut that out. That's going to be amazing.
Well, one of the things about lawyers is that they have to deal with the cases their clients bring them. And when you have a rock solid case in Kalamazoo County, you can write a rock solid motion. Whereas when you have a very iffy case on election stuff that you might not be an expert on, your lawyer might not be as good in that moment. But anyway, and also, I would say the only guy who was qualified in that convention that time around was Scott Greenlee. No one else could raise millions of dollars. I mean, JD Glazer, I've had a nice chat with him, but he would be in the same problem with Christina as far as how he could raise money, you know?
Right.
Russ Jennings says, I supported her after her win, but did not vote for her.
Yeah.
Aaron Tuckfield says, was literally saying the same thing as Amber. Bethany said she's texting Matt right now. There you go. Bethany says, or Jonathan says, Bethany knows Donald J. Trump's phone number. Someone does. Curtis Clark says, good point, Curtis. Good point. This is another thing Christina's people always bring up. They're like, oh, the precinct delegates, meaning the state delegates, voted for Christina. Well, they also voted for the state committee members too. And, besides a lot changing in a year, namely Christina failing on all of her promises, the other problem too is that these state delegates are not personally legally liable for the things the state party does. And speaking of that,
Exactly.
Todd, that's a good transition because Todd,
who's going to pay the $5,000 oil bill for me?
And Adam, can I comment to who's this guy? This Curtis Clark, because he's had a lot to say before on Facebook, and he runs his mouth like freaking diarrhea in a toddler that just drank a gallon of apple juice. But what I have to say to this is, I think what he said on there was who voted for the state committee members. I have a really good question. Who voted for the damn delegates? Who voted for the delegates? Have the delegates door knocked on every single person in their precinct to see how those voters feel? Because I've done the count in this county, and while it's the delegates that voted, when you talk to all of the delegates, over 80% of Isabella County does not support Karamo. But in the same breath, who's getting all this messaging, right? This one-line messaging that comes out from communications with Karamo. And did you just read the last messaging, this political lynching? And they talk about the past groups, like the racism and all of that that's put in there. But if the delegates are going to run and say who elected them, who elected the delegates? I respect the delegates, but it's got to go all the way back down the line. And everybody needs to be representative. And when you look at the state as a whole and the grassroots that are supposed to be supporting Christina, are they?
Yeah.
How much money did she have? How many donors did she get to come in? That's it.
Yeah. Don't
drink the apple juice.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, with
Aaron
me, as long as I've been a precinct delegate, we have a lot of people who do not want, going back to the thought of even county commissioners being chosen by 4 precinct delegates. Voters do not want that.
Yeah. Oh,
not at the local
it's
level.
unbelievable that it shows how unserious they are, that they're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea.
I know. And I threw it out there. I said, go door to door. And I want you to go door to door and ask the voters right now. There's always something you can look at in the future, but wanting to change the system midstream right here, go door to door and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. You never heard of me before, but mind if I just vote for you?
Yeah.
The answer will be no, and get off my property.
Hey, you know what? I'm your precinct delegate, and you might not know me, but trust me,
or
I
even
know
what
a
a precinct delegate is.
Who to vote for U.S. Senate. So I don't know who your preference is. Maybe you're voting for Peter Meyer, but he's a rhino. So I'm going to vote for who I want to vote for U.S. Senate. I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to vote for, and I'm voting in place of you. Because guess what? I'm a precinct delegate. I'm a somebody. I'm a somebody that filed a piece of paper with my clerk once, and now I'm a precinct delegate, and you're not. So buzz off, retard. I'm voting for the smart people because I'm a pure Republican patriot, and you're some kind of idiot rhino jackknob. So obviously,
those races would become so contentious really fast if this was the case. Like you'd have thousands of dollars put into those races.
Yeah.
Yes, you would. And what happens when you get those really unknown Democrats that, if I were a Democrat and I wanted to get into the Republican Party, I'm telling you right now, I would make some of my amazing no-bake cookies. I'd make 3,000 of those things, bag them up, and I'd be like, hi, my name's Bree. I'm running to be your Republican, delegate. Please vote for me. Well, they're going to remember my name, and I could be a Democrat, right?
And I've told
you are a Democrat.
I was told
I know. That's supposed to be the funny part, Amber. Like, right?
And
I'm the implant.
Working with some different chairs before, those that I've worked with, I've told them the only reason you see every 2 years that there's going to be this big push for precinct delegates is because there's an agenda behind it.
There you go.
Whether it is to replace the party and make one person share, or because someone is running for one position or another. And I've said, honestly, when it comes to November, I don't care how many precinct delegates you had. I'd rather have a non-precinct delegate who's a volunteer and hits every single door in their precinct, because that is what wins elections, not titles.
Yeah.
Now, are you guys as passionate against closed primaries too? Then
I like the idea of a closed primary.
Yeah, I like the idea of a closed primary done properly. It's not the same as saying only delegates can vote, though.
Right.
By the way,
It can bring a lot of it can bring a lot of money into the party if everybody pays their dues in a close primary.
I want to read a couple of comments on Rumble real quick. I've been posting a bunch of comments from Facebook and YouTube. Rumble, I don't have that luxury. I have to read them out. Logger Larry on Rumble says, KK and company are not grassroots. They are AstroTurf, have the appearance of grass, but lack the root system. Super expensive, and when exposed to the elements, rapidly deteriorates and leaves you with mud. Well put, Logger Larry. Lauren Turner says...
Is that a haiku or just really poetic?
That
was a good extended metaphor for sure. Lauren Turner says, I don't test the 100% philosophical purity of every person in every job. We need someone who will work hard and effectively to support the administration of campaigns and elections this year. Yep. So there you go. Anyway, Todd, I want to talk to you in particular because you are on the budget committee and you probably know where the bodies are buried more than any of us do.
Unfortunately, yes.
First of all, what's your take on let's say the run up to what's gone on with these with these state committee members voting to get rid of Christina?
Well, I've been on the budget committee from day one, and I was excited when I first got on the budget committee. I thought Christina, she's a great speaker, public speaker, when properly scripted, I think. It went south kind of right away because they were never transparent. They would never show it. They would never produce documents. And the first one that caused issues was the Fort Liberty contract, where we paid her friend Joe Moss nearly $80,000. And we fought to see that contract for months, only to be told there was an NDA attached to it and we weren't allowed to see it. So we don't know exactly what we picked.
Supposed to do your job on the budget committee if you can't see the numbers.
Right.
By the way, Todd, I want to apologize too because I realized you were on my show once. It was like a couple months ago, but yeah.
No, I've never been on the show. I've typed in a lot, but I've never actually been on the show. So, but no, and that was the consistent theme of all of our budget committee meetings. She fired our original budget chair because he pushed back and tried to hold them accountable. And he was a little rough around the edges with it, but now I understand why, because he had some past with them, because he was actually the transitional treasurer in the administration. And then she put in her own person. And we never got to see anything about the Mackinac contracts. We never got to see any of that stuff. And the majority of the budget committee was made up of yes men. They would carry her water. They wouldn't ask tough questions. They voted yes on everything. And that's just the way it was. And, for a while, I was just getting my feet wet because I haven't been into politics forever. And I didn't get into politics to cover up for corrupt politicians. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. If they're corrupt, I'm going to say something about it. And it was just, they just were always lied. We've only seen bank accounts twice, and that was in September and August of last year. We were told the Caviezel loan was a donation from June until the end of November. They finally admitted it was a loan, even though we all knew it before then, but they didn't admit it until November. And
it sounded like there may have been an issue with that it was like they hoped it could be a donation, but then it couldn't have been, so it had to be a loan. But maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe they wanted to.
I heard that rumor too, but they never confirmed anything to us about it.
Yeah.
Christina denied. She goes, "I never told you it was a loan." Plausible deniability. Of course, she never did say it was a loan. Hartman said it was a loan. Dan Bonamy said it was a loan. Joel Studebaker said it was a loan, but Christina never did. That's how she could play dumb. And they finally admitted to it. And then we found out it was Copus, even though Studebaker said he wasn't sure who it was.
By the way, Tim Ross is saying they showed us a loan agreement dated August 1st. Does that sound right?
Well, when we went to vote on the payments of it in the beginning of December, they're like, we need to make some payments on this. I'm like, we haven't even seen the contract. We haven't seen the terms. We haven't seen anything. And they go, oh, and they put a screenshot of it up on the computer screen. And I'm like, that's a day late and $1 short. You're gonna show it to us and want us to vote on it a minute later. It's 3%, $10,000 a month. And here's the kicker: if we're late to pay off the executive director on a monthly payment, we got to pay $1,000 late fee. Yeah, so it was just always shady. And then we kept pushing them. Me, Tim Ross pushed them the hardest, especially after Jessica and Day resigned. It was mainly me and Tim that pushed them. Grant Galassa, he played the devil's advocate, but he would abstain on most votes. But it was mainly me and Tim. that would vote no on everything. And we finally were hitting them up. Is Mackinoff paid off? Because we know it's not. I don't ask questions I don't know the answers to on that committee. And they're like, yep, everything's paid off, except for Cazzizel. And then 8 days later, they call a special meeting, wouldn't tell us what was in the agenda until they wanted us to approve the agenda. I swear to God, it sounded like Nancy Pelosi. And they finally told us what it was, and it was to pay Kari Lake $15,000 and James O'Keefe $10,000 for not showing up to Mackinac. 8 days later, we had to vote on another $25,000.
You guys paid James O'Keefe to not come?
Yeah, that's how we do business. So yeah, I'm like, man, where do I sign up for that job?
Yeah.
And
hold on. Emma Birch asks, Todd, Christina said the budget committee approved the Comerica lawsuit. Is that true?
No. They
No.
That was another special meeting called in like 2 or 3 days where they violated the bylaws. They always violated the bylaws. No, they brought us on and asked us for our opinion. And they gave us just a few choices. And my response was, I said, first of all, these choices are all terrible. I go, second, if you want to sell that building or give it back to the bank, it looks vindictive. It looks like you're going after Weiser, because that's all they ever did for the last year was blame Weiser for all the problems.
Yeah.
And I told her, these are terrible. We're supposed to be caretakers of the Republican Party, and you're just going to do this. And this is what really turned the tide for me. And when I finally come out of staying in the background, because I stayed in the background for a long time, and this really brought me out of the background, is she said, I want to get your guys' opinion. I want to think about it, formulate an opinion on it, make a decision. I'll take it to the state committee, and then we'll move on from there. And about a week and a half after that, she called another special meeting and said, hey, we're filing a lawsuit. I'm like, Christina, you said you're going to take it to the state committee. She goes, well, we don't have time for that. And we're worried about leaks. And it was always worried about leaks, this, that, and the other thing. So they didn't have time to take it to the state committee. I said, Christina, all they want is information. And now you're going to do something without taking it to them. I go, you're causing your own problems. Me and her went back and forth on that all the time. I go, they just want information. And then Jim Kopus would pipe in, and me and him went round and round, because he kind of implied at one meeting that Christina has a fiduciary duty and she can do what she thinks is right for the party, regardless of what the state committee says. And I'm like, excuse me, Jim, did you just imply Christina can violate the bylaws and do whatever she wants? He goes, no, that's not what. I goes, no, that's not what I'm saying. I go, yeah, it is. That's exactly what I just heard. And that was pretty much it. That meeting, and about 15 minutes after that ended and all that, that's the last time I've talked to anybody, because that was December 20th. And then a week after that is when I started getting phone calls from the NRCC, and then all the paperwork got filed, and then the Civil War started. So,
wow. Jason Mickelborg says, if you don't know what these yo-yos, they will vote you off of your committees, to which Tim Ross responds, they
already did,
because there's no one to replace us.
Right. Yeah, they are.
Todd, let everyone know why there's no one. Like, what does that mean? Like, why is there no one to replace you guys because of your districts?
Because of everybody in our district actually feels the same way. We had one person, Mike Brown. Yeah, Mike Brown from District 5 that didn't sign on to the letter to remove Christina. So what it is each district has to have one representative on the 3 standing committees. So there's 13 people on the budget committee. We have 13 districts. So if they remove me, they got to replace me with somebody from District 5. And that would be very hard to do, because everybody in our district kind of has the same thought process. They did, after the NRCC asked me about some of this money that was going to be spent, I sent Dan Bonamy an email saying, hey, can I get the meetings from the June 13th budget committee meeting? And knowing full well I was going to get shot down. But he emailed me back saying I wasn't on the budget committee anymore. I said, well, yeah, that's what I expected. And then I called him out. I said, this budget committee was a failure from day one. We never held Christina accountable. It was a rubber stamp committee. And I said, and we all failed. I go, if this budget committee would have done its job, stood up to Christina and did what we were supposed to do, which was maintain budget control, we might not be in the position we are in today. But Dan Bonamy and the rest of the budget committee, or for the most part, rolled over and never said a thing.
It's amazing. Real quick, I want to get your take on something. I looked it over this on my stream last night, but this was this letter that the NRCC sent recently, strangely undated. So I'm not entirely sure when exactly this was transmitted, but it was in the news apparently
Horrible
yesterday.
logo. Like, look at that logo. It's so bad.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly plastered all over the countryside. It's not like people really know the NRCC as a public-facing organization. But anyway, they are the group that raises money for congressional campaigns, and they say, "Thank you for confirming receipt of $263,000 in federal funds from Protect the House 2024 to the Michigan Republican Party State Central Committee federal account. I appreciate you directing your client to hold on to the funds while I request the opportunity to appear in front of MIGOP's budget subcommittee," I think she means committee, "to make our case." I think, by the way, that sentence, I forgot to mention this yesterday, I think that is memorializing for the record that Dan Hartman told her, "Oh yeah, we still have the money, and we're going to have a budget committee meeting, and we're going to decide what to do with the money." And then, of course, the letter goes on to basically say, we seem to get the impression you're going to not spend the federal dollars on federal campaigns like you're supposed to, and since then, Christina has actually announced, yes, we're going to just keep the money for ourselves. But that was, I think, what he was doing. There was putting that on the record, was saying, yeah, you're claiming, you claimed to me in writing that you did not spend this money. You're holding on to this $263,000. I don't know, Dan, or I'm sorry, Todd, do they, yeah, and Dan Hartman, a question to you too, Dan.
Right.
Do they have this money or don't they?
As of the end of December, they did. They had that money, and they also got $120,000 from the candidates for the to be put on our primary ballot.
Okay.
So they did have, close to $400,000, but they had to pay for the convention hall, Cobo Hall. We had approved $30,000 in payments to go to Copus. But Christina's on video in the last week saying that the Copus loan was paid off. So that's another $80,000. So depending on what they paid for Cobo Hall, which they were saying was going to be in a $30,000 to $40,000 range, if they did pay off that Copus loan, then they had to go into that money. Christina, once they got that money, and I was thinking back before I even come on to that, I started thinking back in all my budget committee meetings. She never once talked about what she was going to do to help statewide candidates or federal candidates. She never talked about that. She always talked about the Good Neighbor program, which as of the end of November only had 500 people signed up for it. And she talked about wanting to buy data. And I'm like, why do you need to buy data when the RNC will give it to you for free? We're broke. I mean, we're not even broke. We're borderline bankrupt. And she wants to take federal money that we could flip a few House seats here in Michigan. And she wants to buy data. And when we can get it for free. I mean, to me, it sounded like a data mining operation. That's something she'll keep when she leaves office. That's what it felt like to me. That's speculation. That's opinion. I don't have no proof of that, but that's what it felt like. She never talked about the Senate race coming up. She never talked about any of these congressional seats, which ones we can flip. The NRC had 4.
They're all rhinos.
Well, yeah.
We need to support any candidates. What's the point of supporting candidates when they're all Democrats anyway? So
yes, exactly. And my thing is,
and this raise money for her salary, and she can keep it, and that's kind of the whole purpose of the Christina's GOP.
That's what it felt like.
Dan Lyle says Christina repeatedly told budget members that speakers would be paid from the administrative account, but couldn't stop talking about how they could transfer from the Fed to the admin account. It's obvious they transferred money and paid expenses. Which I went over this on my show last night too. It's unbelievably stupid because the administrative account is the least regulated account. You don't want to transfer money. You want to keep money that can go into admin is money that you can't put elsewhere. You would never want to transfer money from a less regulated account. Well, you can't transfer it to a more regulated account. So the more regulated money that you get, you want to keep there because you can't easily raise more of it.
Right. And I pushed and pushed and pushed at that last meeting in December 20th. How you paying for this? How you paying for this? All of our money's in the FEC account. Oh, well, you can go down with your money, but you can't go up. So we can transfer money from the FEC to the admin account, and we're going to pay everything out of the admin account. I'm like, isn't that FEC money supposed to go towards federal campaigns? And they keep saying we're not going to be told what to do with the money by the globalists and the World Economic Forum. And it just blah, 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 blah. It was just turning me off. It's like,
Yeah.
She's trying to cover for her own ineptitude because she would not go out and try and raise money herself. She could never tell us how much money she was bringing in, ever. She would never tell us about fundraising campaigns. Our finance chair never came to any of our budget committee meetings except for the very first one. I think it felt like now that I look back on it, I thought it was incompetence for many months, but the more I look back on it, I'm like, it seemed like a coordinated effort to be blasé. I mean, there was just nothing. There was nothing there.
Yeah,
and
they remind me of that movie Fargo, where there was that character Jerry Lundegaard who's like constantly trying to spin this increasingly insane web of lies because the money's missing. What was in my money, Jerry? Oh, you didn't want the true coat? Oh my gosh, I had to tell you the car with the true coat on it. Oh, your money. Oh, don't worry, it's coming. Oh no, we don't want you to. Don't talk to the robbers yourself. Don't talk to the cops about this. No, we got this all under control. Like it's just a completely spiraling out of control web of lies that's gone from can't raise money to now trying to sue their way out of their debt, and it's just getting increasingly bizarre.
It's a great Fargo accent, by the way.
Yeah,
right. Well, that letter you showed from the NRCC during our candidate forum the other night, they called me, and as soon as that finished up, I called them back. They asked me a series of questions about, do I think they're spending that money? And I told them I said, yeah, they have to be. If they paid it off, they have to be. I go, but if they didn't pay off that loan, then most of it's still going to be there. They haven't burned through it all unless they're, embezzling money now. And then he goes, okay, I'll get back with you. And then the next morning, I get a text message from him, and it's a link to the Detroit News article. The NRCC sent me the link to the Detroit News article. So I'm like going, oh, all right, good deal. So
they're kind of aware of things.
yes, they are. And you know what? They're actually very cool to talk to. It's just like us talking here right now. I don't feel intimidated by them. I don't feel pressured by them. They're just trying to get Republicans elected,
Yeah.
So
Holly Valade says, Good Neighbor Program is the same 7 videos I had 6 months ago. It's basically just something they use as talking points. Cue the rambling about Good Neighbor Program that hasn't had an update since July. Whenever anyone asks her about what she's doing to reach voters and engage with people. Kelly Powell says, oops, that's not it. Patricia Johnson says, I signed up and only got one email. Kelly Powell says, it takes years to pull data and never had a Good Neighbor Program. It's a lie. And someone else made the comment that our counties are buying lists. Yeah, in my county, like I know a guy that sells voter data. I have made it available to anybody that needs voter data. And
I know a guy that sells voter data too.
Yeah,
we all got a guy. Hey, I got a guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's lots of companies that do this. You can go to
we've all got our own dealer.
You can go to whoever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's what we have to do because, and this is something that actually really predates Christina because there's always been problems with the state party's voter system, and that has come from what they used to do in the past was they would pay people to knock on doors and they would pressure them to turn in big numbers of how many people they knocked on. Right. They basically incentivized them to make up nonsense. So the voter file that the state party had was always corrupted with this crap data they were getting from all these different sources. So
is that the old voter vault system you're talking about?
Yeah, voter vault.
Yeah, they had to go up
data center.
Go up
I
to
remember
Lake
one time I was
County
running a campaign, and I got this. I got a copy of the voter vault, and I got a copy of or whatever it's called at the time, voter vault GOP data center. But I got a copy of that. I got a copy of the QVF from the SOS, and I got a copy of the data from my data guy. And every time there was a discrepancy between my data's guy's data and the state party's data, the QVF would always say my guy's data was right. That's the way that went every single time.
I had one voter I had to go to up in Lake County when I was hired to do a job, and it showed that it was for you guys that run campaigns, you know what I mean by a P3 Republican. It wound up being the Democratic candidate for state representative that year. She's not a P3 Republican, college professor, lovely lady, obviously very left, not a P3 Republican, conservative, pro-gun, pro-life American.
Yeah.
But that was
Johnny Hotspot on the platform formerly known as Twitter says, Todd, remember, she said the FEC account is the most important, and that's why she uses it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you're right. Yeah, make yourself feel good. It's all inflated, but Steve, all the big contributions we had, which were none, but the ones that we did get were one-time donations. None of it was recurring. Just 120 grand for the primary, that was never going to happen again. We could get more money, and I know there's more money sitting there from the NRCC. And I'll be 100% honest. I told them back at the end of December, I would not give another dime to the state. I would give it directly to the districts that they need to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey,
But now
Sure.
So
Say,
Todd,
Bri?
I'm just curious. If you back up to the McCarthy money, because you said something that was interesting, that as long as nothing else has been spent, that money should still be in there. But what was it, like a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, when the treasurer had sent a letter forward, and I think she said all in all, the bottom line for Mackinac was we made like $30,000. But in regards to the COPUS loan, that we could pay that off tomorrow if we want to do, is what she said. So would that money, if it had been paid off, or if they have paid it off at this time, wouldn't that have had to have come from the McCarthy money?
No. If they paid it off, yeah, they had to have gone into the McCarthy money. But out of the 263, if they went into it and didn't spend it on anything else, if they were actually, ethical, they would probably be around 200 grand. But who's going to pay for all these lawsuits? So,
Yeah, you're kidding.
as many lawsuits as there. What's that?
Well, I mean, the lawsuits, right? They're free for now because that was General Counsel Dan had said that he was a free staff. He was a volunteer staff until, I'm sure, he wants to go back and say that he wants to be paid for pro bono and retroactive or whatever.
Well, what are they in actively right now? 3-4 different lawsuits. I mean, they're going to have to hire somebody else to do it. Jim Kopis, he's the smartest guy in the room, and he's got all these law degrees, but he can't get a law license, so he can't go do anything. And then all the other good lawyers in the party, they're hanging out with us now. So,
they're cool.
but still, they got to pay to keep the lights on. There's still some recurring bills they have to pay because they're paying the treasurer. So there's still some recurring bills they have to pay. So yeah, they're dipping into that money.
By the way, speaking of that, Bethany Wheeler says they sent out an email fundraising for the lawsuit today. Funny thing is, the state party is not a party to the lawsuit. They're not a state.
Right.
The one that's Christina.
Yeah.
So we got to pay her salary and pay off a debt. It looks like.
Yeah. Well,
and
I'm
did you
not
notice
going
that
to
Jim
cover
Kopis?
this tonight because, Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Jim Kopis, when they send their communications out now, it's not Dan and Christina. Jim actually is on there first. So I don't know. I just wonder, to myself, I'm not making, a speculation or assumption, but I just wonder if there's something that happened along the lines of he gets to be the first name now listed when they send their responses legally.
Well, also to the budget, the budget committee on the 13th, they had a meeting. I don't know what happened. They could have approved giving Christina all her back pay, which would have been about $70,000. That could have, that could eat up some of that money too. Who knows what they did? If they know they're on their way. If I was her, I would be getting my back pay right now. I would have taken.
Oh, I would, Todd. Nikki Coons is on state committee for District 2, and she doesn't participate with the rest of the state committees with the motions that we make and where we participate with Pete. But that's interesting because I think that we could try to contact her and see what's going on that end. That would be interesting. And if anything, I know there's a lot of delegates that would probably be more than happy to reach out to her.
Well, the big day is going to be the end of the month, and they got to file their FEC filings. Yeah. And the only way that they're paying for themselves is out of that FEC account. So they're either going to tell the truth or they're going to put themselves in a real bad position.
I think the problem is they're going to try to put the party in a real bad position on their way out the door. But real quick, and I do want to read some chats as well, but this is the email we've been referencing. This came out today. Fellow Republicans, the political lynching, they're gonna play the race card to the nth degree on this, of Christina Karamo has been, and by the way, is that gonna work? Does anybody think this is really gonna buy this? Yeah, it's because she's black. That's absolutely why we.
You know, I've never the whole year that I've been dealing with her and this thing, I've never once heard anybody make reference to any race issue at all, ever.
No. By the way, and there's some things we're not looking at tonight. One is there is apparently Dan Hartman has posted what they're planning to file a motion to dismiss on the lawsuit. I was thinking about covering it tonight because they posted it on their website. It's available, but I want to wait till they file it before I say anything about it because I don't want to give them any ideas. It's going through it and be like, hey, this is wrong because of this reason. This is bad because of that reason. I don't want them to make any corrections before they file it. The other thing is there is there's an outstanding matter in Kalamazoo. There was this big lawsuit that was mostly all about the composition of the executive committee, all of which those claims all got dismissed. But then there was a defamation claim that was still outstanding, and that I think there's going to be a hearing on that tomorrow. So I'm going to wait to talk about that until after tomorrow to see how that goes. But one of the things, because someone brought to my attention that Trucker Randy on his show a week or so ago was saying, yeah, this Adam D'Angeli guy, he's actually, I think I got evidence, he's actually a really big racist. And someone says to me, yeah, this is grounds for defamation. I was like, well, actually it's not, because in defamation, you have to either be able to show defamation per se, which means like they literally call you a criminal, or you have to be able to show damages. And I can't point to an email that someone said, yeah, I got an email I'm a donor to Rescue Michigan, but Randy Bishop says you're a racist, so I want to stop giving you my money. So there's no grounds for defamation. I can't sue Randy Bishop for saying that, but whatever. But anyway, the political lynching of Christina Caramo has been orchestrated by the same elitist individuals who maintain the corrupt status quo caste system within the Michigan Republican Party. By eliminating Chairwoman Caramo, they can uproot the grassroots foundation to recapture MIGOP and use it for their elitist endeavors. Just consider the words of Maggie Kurtzwell, which is not her name. I don't know if this quote is authentic or not, or where they got it from, but according to them, they say that she said, "Thank heavens that this matter did not go back to the delegates. They're the ones that got us into this mess." We've referenced Maggie's comment because she is a current MIGOP state committee member who's closely affiliated with ... Melinda Pago. How is she closely affiliated with Melinda Pago?
They're from the same state. They're from the same state. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yes, the same Melinda Pago, who is part of the faction of rogue Republicans that led the illegal and unethical January 6th gathering to try and eliminate Chairwoman Caramo. Thank God they were unsuccessful. This is the same Melinda Pago who was legally removed as co-chair of the Michigan Republican Party for partaking in actions that violate MIGOP bylaws regarding conflicts of interest. Just recently, a lawsuit many would categorize as malicious was filed against Caramo by the following individuals, and there are their names. I think at least 3 of their names are misspelled there, if I'm not mistaken. Norm Schinkel's last name, Jessica Bearfield's last name, and Ann DeLau's first name, I think, are all misspelled, but whatever. I mention this only because one of the people on their communications team is someone who works at Hillsdale College and fancies herself as a professional writer. So I like to point these things out. As one can see, Melinda has escalated her efforts. She is now a member of the political lynch mob that is using Democrat lawfare tactics to try to carry out the political lynching of Chairwoman Christina Caramo. This elitist law firm used by these individuals is Warner, Norcross, and Judd. Oh boy, they're an evil elitist law firm. Files this suit. Not a coincidence. This law firm has previously gone after grassroots individuals, and that would mean what exactly? It's all innuendo with these people. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I would like to say a couple things on that. One, I'm not a fan of all these lawsuits filing around because it seems like a very Democrat thing to do. So I'm not a fan of all the lawsuits, but I understand them. I understand why they're happening. Christina's not going to go away. I don't see her as a grassroots person. I see her as a far-right evangelical extremist nut job. I think she's doing a lot of damage to our party. She's doing a lot of damage to the grassroots. And I'm a Christian, but I'm not going to attack you with scripture. I'm not going to beat you over the head with the Bible. I'm not going to put you through a purity test. And that's exactly what her and her supporters do on a constant daily basis, is attack people with scripture. And it's disgusting. And we are a party that has a lot of Muslims, a lot of Jews, a lot of atheists, a lot of we have everything. So quit attacking people with scripture because you're given. I understand. I have friends of mine that are liberal. I'm in political groups that are dominated by liberals. They mock the far right Christians, and now
Vote matters. Every vote matters.
yeah, and now I understand why, because I've seen it firsthand. I don't need to read every single email is quoting Mark or John or anything. I don't. We're not a Christian social club. We're a political party. Be a Christian. Lead a good life. But don't act like we're a Christian social club because we're not. And that is one thing about this administration that drives me nuts. They never talk about getting Republicans elected. They never talk about our plan to help Republicans get elected. All they do is badmouth fellow Republicans. That's all they do.
Yep. Wes Matheny says, hating on Hillsdale. Ouch. No, Wes, you misheard me. I said this woman who happens to work for Hillsdale and fancies herself as a professional writer, is involved in I don't know if she wrote this entire email word for word, but all of this hysteria and lunacy and typos and over the top.
That looks like Jim Kopis. He has a lot of typos in all of his propaganda that he sends out.
That's what I would imagine too. In fact, there was some article yesterday where they referred to the communications director as a he. So it wasn't her that wrote this one, but whatever.
It's not Dan Hartman because at least you can read it and it's not written in crayon.
Yep. Anyway, so as one can see, Melinda is okay. We already read this. So here's the lawsuit, and there's the link where you can find the answer that I can't imagine it's been filed because the lawsuit was filed on Friday and it's only Sunday now. So I would have to assume that it hasn't actually been this motion has not actually been filed yet, but probably will be on Monday or something. But as soon as it's confirmed that they actually dropped off that turkey, we'll look at. Basically, what the answer is we can do whatever we want. See the hype manus case. We can do whatever we want. See the hype manus case, which is wrong for a lot of reasons, but we'll talk about that when the time comes.
Somebody wrote that lawsuit, a rage lawsuit, sitting in a basement with a bare bulb hanging over their head, rage writing that manifesto down.
Yeah.
That's why it's very unprofessional.
So it goes on. We can no longer sit back and allow the actions taken by the rogue Republicans to go without consequence. They've totally given up at this point about arguing the facts about this stuff. It's just, there's no question about whether or not there was a proper removal. It's just bottom line is these are a bunch of evil, rogue Republican, deep state, racist, lynch mob, blah, 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 blah. That's all. It's all just a bunch of name calling. Corrupt status quo caste system. Barbie Schroeder asks, what can Hoekstra do to stop this madness? Well, the hope is that this lawsuit gets, brings the end of it, and then he can raise money and support campaigns.
And
the most ironic thing about all this stuff though is Christina.
By the way,
Christina,
go ahead.
No, Christina champions herself to be election integrity, and all of her supporters are the same way. But yet, for the last month, they've done nothing but suppress their own vote.
Yep. Yeah.
They've shot themselves in the foot. If they just would have showed up and did their duty as a state committee man, made their voice be heard, and cast their vote like they should have, we unfortunately we may still have Christina, but we wouldn't be involved in all these lawsuits. But they suppressed their own vote, and that to me is just ironic and hilarious.
Thank you. But
Lauren,
Todd, I appreciate that you just said that.
Yeah. Lauren Turner says Maggie's comment, and I'm not conceding that she said this. I'm only quoting what was alleged in the email. Was well less offensive than being treated like I have to pass a purity test to attend a state committee meeting. And final thing too about this email before I close it is no name, no signature on this. In Liberty Communications team. That is so unprofessional, and that goes for both sides too. Because I've seen a lot of anonymous emails from the anti-Christina people. But to me, if you're going to send an email out and expect people to take you seriously, put your name on it. I think it's cowardly not to, but that's just my humble opinion. Anyway, other comments. Charlotte Cosmic on Rumble says 289 days to election day. Yeah, that clock is ticking, folks. Feels like only yesterday it was 365 days. Time's passing. Barbie Schrader says they have nothing, just scrambling to regain control. Yep, and they won't. We actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my strategy this whole past week was don't say anything about this meeting coming up on Saturday because they could have showed up. And I thought if they were going to show up, I mean, who knows what they might have done? I don't think they could have voted for, one of their own people because they wouldn't have gotten the 7. Maybe we should go through this because I think Andy and Bree know a bit about this, but you can't just run for state chair. You'd have to get the endorsement of, is it 7 district chairs have to endorse your candidacy to even be eligible to run?
Yeah. So historically, you'll notice with the RNC this time it was changed down to 4. And I think that's only because Christina had 4 district chairs that like her. So she had to get shills in for RNC committee man and committee woman. Not saying that's true. It's just mathematically that's why she did it or requested.
No. I mean, like say they wanted to nominate, like say Ken Byer to be state chair.
So historically, for these state level positions, state chair, vice chair, whatever, it would require 7, a simple majority district chairs. You and I remember back when it used to take 8 because we're unfortunately that
we used to have more districts.
We used to have more districts. So really doing it this way for a state committee is no different. And there was some pushback that I received. Well, Andy, how can they get 7 district chair signatures in just a couple of days? And I said, look, if they can't get the signatures of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, how in the hell are they going to run a state political party? You better be talking to more than 7 people in a week.
Yeah.
So that was the only qualification. Get 7 of the district chairs. You've got 13. So that's basically you win 1, you lose 1 on average. You're going to make it. That was the only requirement. You fill that out and then also be a Michigan resident over the age of 18.
Yeah. So
this little guy over here on the other side of the screen with Amber, he actually wouldn't be able to make it.
Yeah. Well, importantly though, Christina her people would not have been able to nominate because they wouldn't have gotten the support of 7 district chairs.
Well, no. Now there are district chairs that do not believe in a vetting process for a thing called competency.
Yeah.
So you might remember one of the arguments Christina had in removing some of us is that we were on a CNN TV being interviewed. So were her own people, by the way. As a matter of fact, that was Joel Studebaker that said that, and he was on there. So maybe if Ken Byer would have run, there probably would have been a few district chairs that are not hardcore Christina Caramo that maybe would have signed. But like anything in politics, we'll take the old Roman phrase, fortune favors the bold. If you don't dare, then you won't win. So I guess we'll never know, but that's not my problem.
Yep. But the point being, I mean, even if her people had shown up, they could have voted for whoever their preference would have been, which probably would not have been Pete Hoekstra.
It probably would have been Lena.
Yeah. But they chose not to.
They chose not to.
So
and I actually did not. Yeah, we kind of went quiet this past week, and I know I did that intentionally because I thought, let them think they've won, so they don't show up. And it worked. It's funny because it worked in January 6th, and it worked again on the 20th.
So they were actually right. So these state committee communications go back, and I'm just going to say they get bad. They get really bad, and I'm pretty sure that there was one District 3 state committee member that told Todd to go FUCK off. And literally put it right in there like that. But before January 20th, before this last Saturday, there were a lot of communications, in fact, that were going around of Christina supporters saying, we need to show up, we need to show up, we need to show up. And then boom, like, I don't know if it was the morning of, we all got this communication with these attachments that had said, 40 of us have signed and we've had notarized that you cannot put a proxy into our name. Well, first of all, the pages that were put in there, a lot of them were duplicates or just like a different signed copy. And I think altogether there were actually 25 members of state committee, these election integrity people, Todd. This is why I love it. Yeah. These people that are by the books, these 25 members had affidavits notarized that said, you cannot assign a proxy to my name.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the law doesn't speak that way when we refer to the bylaws.
Yeah.
And Adam,
the show last night too.
So Adam, the first time that I was policy chair this year, I had told everyone in my policy committee, you are the keepers of the bylaws, read them, know them, live them, breathe them. And I had mentioned in state committee meetings and online that if you're a state committee member, it's like if you are a Republican and you complain that your congressman has not read and understands the Constitution of the United States, the same is true here with a state committee member. If you do not read your bylaws and understand them, you're the problem.
Yeah.
You have to actually read them because that is what you agree to operate in. We're supposed to be the party of the rule of law. Then let's practice it before we go and beat other elected Republicans over the head. We only have 20 some pages of bylaws. Read them and understand them. And unfortunately, I see the other people on the side, as many times as I said it, I don't know if they're reading them or if it's willful neglect. But there was.
I'm glad they don't understand the bylaws, honestly, because otherwise they might not have
failure
might not
of
have let us win.
duty.
Didn't they send out didn't Robert Owens send out an email a day or two ahead, or maybe 3 days ahead, pretty much threatening us with legal liabilities if we were to show up and take part in that meeting?
I don't know how many times I've been threatened legally.
Yeah, there's a comment earlier on Rumble. Logger Larry says Robert Owens can do it. Oh wait, he lost his license.
Oh, another one. Okay.
He contacted me back in like April and wanted me to join his, what is it, like his society or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder how he feels that I didn't join him. I don't know. I mean, if you ever want to see him, I have those emails somewhere too.
What society is there? What society? That's weird.
I don't know. What was this? Like, what is his foundation?
I don't know. Unicorns.
Amber, I'm going to look it up and then I'm going to tell you because I don't know. But I'll look it up because it happened. It's a society or foundation or.
Aaron Tuckfield says John Birch Society. Does that sound right?
Oh,
yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I knew it was a society.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he used to write for the New
that,
American or something. That's a shame because the John Birch Society used to be something serious, but
they were.
Oh yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
Yep. Named after a Korean War veteran that died fighting actual communists. It used to be a great organization.
Yeah. Jason Mickelborg says, spelled funnily, District 4 does not have bylaws. It's been a year. That's amazing. How do you even operate like that?
That's called anarchy, Adam, when you have no rule of law.
Yeah.
That's how far right some people. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
they are why when Norm Schinkel and I. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to read her comment.
I don't want to know about you, Norm Schinkel.
These people claim they follow the Constitution, won't follow local, state, and party laws. Go ahead. So
Norm Schinkel's wife, I've officially named her. I want this put on record, please, Adam. Monsoon Mary and Storm and Norman. So
say it again.
Monsoon Mary. I said Norm Schinkel's wife. I would like it put on record that we refer to her as Monsoon Mary. So we have Storm and Norman and Monsoon Mary. But in regards to District 4, when him and I had put the bylaw amendment together that was for conflict resolution, one of the things that we added was that in the case that districts and counties do not have bylaws pertaining to member removal, then there was a fallback process, like a 14-day procedure. Norm and I had actually both sent these bylaw amendments separately, and Andy was like, yeah, you both need to get together and make these, coalesce with each other. And so we did. But I think it's an interesting point that they still don't have the bylaws. And that's actually something that we did work on that would have gone forward. And in fact, it did go to January 6th.
Yep.
Right. The bylaw amendment went to the floor on January 6th, but there was just so much going on that we took it off the agenda for that meeting.
Yep. A lot of people in the chat talking about District 4. Hey guys, you know what? Convention's coming up. Maybe there's something you can do about that. Because
increasing delegate recruitment, like every day, you should be recruiting better delegates.
Yep. I think we're getting near the end of the chats here, and I want to make sure I didn't be able to talk about anything on our list of things tonight. Oh, Michelle Obama. We think the over-under is on her replacing Joe Biden on the Democrat ticket. I think it's getting higher by the day.
Wait, what about Whitmer?
Yeah, right.
Stop. I'll be famous then.
Yeah.
You will be.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know.
Whitmer's-
Biden won from his basement, so he's got the ball.
Well-
I say keep running with him.
Well, I can no longer say that
rolling with
Whitmer is
Biden.
too
What was
dumb
it?
to really attract any
Or
serious
shuffling.
thought
You
in his-
can't run with Biden, but you sure as hell can shuffle with him.
Yeah.
What was rolling with Biden? What was the slogan? I'm riding with Biden.
Oh,
Riding
I was
with
gonna say, like,
Biden.
what are you rolling, Amber?
Okay,
Hey,
we
this
won't
is a
go there.
family show.
Amber's
Riding
talking
with
about
Biden.
rolling.
Yeah, I can no longer say Whitmer won't be taken seriously because she's too stupid, because Biden's proved that does not matter. But I
Well,
don't think
no,
she
remember, Adam, her campaign slogan was "You'll be blown away." I think Hunter Biden kind of took that one from her.
yeah. But in all seriousness, I don't think she
Yeah,
has the
Biden.
political machine she would need to run a serious presidential campaign the way someone like Gavin Newsom might. But I the rumors I'm hearing are Michelle Obama. I guess we'll see.
Michelle or Michael?
Yeah.
What does the affidavit say?
Well, wait, I was gonna say, is that part of like the transgender movement? If Michelle runs, is that maybe it's a play? I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not speaking. I'm not saying that that's truth. I'm just saying. That's all.
Yeah. Margaret Earl says they just stopped using that slogan because Biden fell off his bike.
It's like,
And Dennis Marburger on Rumble says Gavin Newsom might be the
Fell off the
favorite to replace
tricycle.
Biden. Yeah, I think the Democrats are realizing that Biden is the poison on their ticket, and I think they're going to come loose one way or the other. And they
I don't know
apparently
how they
amended their
do that,
state
though.
their national party rules that they can just appoint somebody to be the nominee if Biden drops out.
See, I don't see how that would fly.
They're
like,
Democrats. They have no independent
wise.
thought. They do what they're told. They do what the media tells
Yeah.
them to do. They'll say
They
know,
march in
"Orange man
they
bad."
march in lockstep. They march in lockstep.
The independence, though, like that's where we're going right now. Like, how do you?
Well, it's going to be it'll make it a referendum on Trump rather than a referendum on Biden, and that's not good for Trump. So we'll see. But it is good that it looks like the party's unifying pretty quickly here. I don't know how much longer this primary stuff's going to go on for. I can't imagine very much longer because there's no plausible opponent. I mean, Nikki Haley's a joke, and I think she's cooked. We'll see what happens on Tuesday.
I'd like to talk more about our Senate race, though. Like, I don't know how we have a presidential primary in February and still have our Senate debacle until August, and then have to, turn around and run a primary or a general in a month and a half before absentee ballots hit the box. Like,
Republicans talked
so
about
messed up.
about changing that before they lost power, and they never got it done. So
It
thankfully,
was horrible.
Chatfield.
That's just horrible.
Yep.
He was a little preoccupied.
Yeah, he was busy doing some other things.
Ugh.
Patty says Nikki played the race card today. I didn't see that story, but no surprise. Oh, it was funny because there was this big story about how Trump said that Nikki Haley was in charge of security on January 6th, and the whole media universe is like, that wasn't Nikki Haley, that was Nancy Pelosi. And it's like, well, okay, so you just all admitted that Nancy Pelosi was in charge of the security on January 6th. Trump just got the entire mass media to confess to that. So there was that.
I love how they point out how Trump said one wrong name, but Biden says so many wrong things and nothing's ever said about it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not sure what this is in response. It looks like this has to do with the District 4 they were talking about earlier. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't it. This was the comment. They voted out Robert's Rules of Order newly revised and are now using a junior college parliamentary rules because RO&R was too hard for them to learn. It's amazing.
what was he talking about? District 4?
District 4, yeah.
Well,
Kelly
January
Phelps says-
13th. I was going to say January 13th, they suspended the bylaws and started purging the party of people they didn't like. Mr. Tim Ross and a few others, so they were doing some very, and I hate using this word, they were doing some very Nazi-like stuff, party purging, In one of my snarky comments the other day, I emailed Robert Owens back, calling him Christina Cromwell's Joseph Goebbels. And that was probably a little unnecessary, but he is a propaganda minister.
Yep.
It's just the way that they're going about their business is ridiculous.
Well, when in doubt, Todd, you pull a Karamo card and you suspend the bylaws, meaning you suspend the Constitution, the rule of law, and you line your political opponents up across a wall. and you shoot them all down.
Wait, which political opponents are you talking about?
Me, you, Tim Ross, Ann, Dan
JD.
Lawless, JD.
Yep. You guys like you understand that's what she did. It's like,
I mean,
God,
you
I love
know,
that you say
you know,
that.
D2 here, we actually took a 50% loss that day illegitimately. So I think we get battle honors for that.
So the Party of Liberty and the Party of the Constitution with Chair Caramo, former Chair Caramo. How embarrassing to be a Republican, and the Republican state committee itself is removing dissenting voices, is telling people they don't have the liberty to speak, is, you know, suspending bylaws that you can't even do, and they're making up their own rules as they go. Like, that's just unbecoming of a Republican.
I'm surprised they even got the meeting going because they didn't have any competent people there to set the meeting up for them.
Hey, let me ask you guys, is Ottawa, what's Ottawa Impact relationship with all this stuff? In are they in the second district?
They're third, District 3.
Well,
some.
Ottawa County used to be 60% of the second district. It used to be the powerhouse for a long time. Now Ottawa County, because it's not one of the largest counties, but it has the highest Republican turnout in the state. The Democrats in charge of the redistricting commission divided it up into actually 3 different congressional districts. So mine, the second, we just have 1 township, but then the 3rd district is carved out to go with Kent County, Grand Rapids. And then the 4th district is carved out to go with Kalamazoo. So it's 3 districts, but really just 2 big ones. The 3rd and the 4th.
Okay.
But
all right.
Where do they lie on the Caramo train? Because I haven't seen them anywhere. Honestly,
100%.
They're neither.
100%.
You know what, though? Let's talk about this. Do you want my this? Can I give you my opinion? This is opinion.
Yeah, I'll get back to Kelly Powell's comment about Tom Barrett later.
So this is where I fully believe with Ottawa. They have to. These state committee members have to, because they believe that they're fully supporting delegates, and delegates say they must, and they believe the delegates know the voters. I do not think, and I'm not going to say names, not all of those state committee members actually support what was taking place with Caramo, but you dare not be a damn dissenting voice, because if you are, off with your freaking head, and they will be kicked right out.
Oh boy.
They love executions. I mean, for being pro-life, they love political executions.
I know we have a committee member in my district who
so it's like,
is not a Christina supporter, but refused to dissent from her because she was doing what the delegates told her to do, which I think is nonsense, but that's what her opinion was.
I mean, it's like a Caramo. What did they have? The Spanish Inquisition? We've got our own Inquisition, or did have our own Inquisition in the party.
So much for all this Republicanism stuff, too. Isn't that the whole idea of having representative government, is that you elect people that, you know, are able to focus on the details of the issues that you might not as an ordinary citizen know about? That's why you don't have
No, not in the party this year. Details didn't matter. Just sit there and you don't even get to see who needs details.
Yeah.
You know, at the very first state committee meeting we had in Clare back in, what was it, April, May? Somebody was actually they were trying to get people to sign a loyalty pledge to Christina Caramo at the very first state committee meeting.
Yeah. Do you know why? Because they thought District 2 was coming in to just like get rid of her then, like all these assumptions. Yeah, and I know who did that. And they
wasn't it Peggy?
It was Peggy. I'm pretty sure it was Peggy that did that. And it was actually what was it? Like somewhere I could go look it up. And
no one asked me to sign it. I never saw it.
Because it was talking about us. They thought.
Well, Randy, I saw him on here. They asked him to sign. He asked about the gold star.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I had a simple response.
Look at leftist centers on, guys. That means we might be on national news tomorrow, because last time leftist center was commenting, we were all over like Daily Mail.
I'm already like 20. What was it, like 3 million views or something? Who needs national news?
I want to go back to this comment from a while ago. This is from Kelly Powell. Tom Barrett, #1 race in the country. Yes, folks, that's a very, very important congressional seat. Tom Barrett is awesome. Excellent record in the state house and the Senate, and he should have been the U.S. senator, or the U.S. congressman already. But we'll see if he manages to pull it off this year. What is left of center saying anyway?
He's just talking about Joe Moss. I think it's a she, actually. She's just talking about Joe Moss.
Okay, I don't know what that's in reference to.
The payment for the website.
Oh, okay.
Are there any actual computers in the office or new software? The software was so good, it was not able to be broken into, and nothing was leaked on Mackinac. There was no breach of the new software system.
Yeah, and they couldn't even use numbers next to people's names.
No, we never saw invoices on the budget committee. We saw, like I said, we saw bank statements a couple times. All we got to see was spreadsheets. You know, if you're a little creative and know how to use Microsoft Excel, I can make myself look like Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
So no, we never saw invoices. NDA, of course, NDA attached to the For Liberty. So we were told we got like eight laptops, some internet security. They don't tell us anything. She ran on transparency. There was none. She ran on working with the state committee. There was none. She used the budget committee as a sounding board, but it was so stacked. There was a woman when we were fighting over how much we were going to pay her at the very first meeting. That's the only thing we ever got to vote on ahead of time, by the way, was what her salary was going to be. She goes, well, we got to give her the max salary because she's a single mom and she shouldn't have to worry about feeding her children. I'm like, if she can't feed her children for $100,000 a year, she needs a new job.
Well,
that's how
many kids do you have?
That's how some of the people on that budget committee were. They were like, Christina can do no wrong. It's a cult of personality. It's terrible.
It was
terrible.
sad. It was really sad. And that's the rumors that were flying beforehand, is that she just needed a job. And the empathy.
There's so many things I could tell you, but I mean, it's speculation. I haven't seen it in black and white, and I'm not the type of person that's going to get into all the innuendo and all the rumors that are probably true, but I don't have proof. I mean, I suspect that there's still a significant bill to the Grand Hotel for the Mackinac conference, but I don't have it in writing, so I'm not going public with it. You know, but just lies and misleading and stretching of the truth. I mean, between Christina and Kamala Harris, the word salad is strong right now.
All right, let's address a couple more chats, and then let's call a stream here. Randy Guppy says it's a KK cult. Yep. Sheila, if I'm not pronouncing this right, Genter Kraus says if the 13th is declared an illegitimate meeting, is Kelly Sockett's Kalamazoo EC then recognized as the KZ GOP? It already was by the Kalamazoo court case that got thrown out. So we'll see. I mean, if something bizarre happens in that case, that they uphold Christina or something, then that might have an impact. But I don't think that's going to happen at all. Left of center, it's going to go. That's calling back to an issue that we talked about months and months ago. So
I know. I addressed it in the chat months and months ago. It was like a year ago.
Let's just say this for those who don't remember. Jon Stewart once made a comment when Claire McCaskill beat Todd Aiken for a U.S. Senate campaign, and Jon Stewart's comment to the cheers and applause, the uproar in the Daily Show audience that you would never see. Like one of the most thunderous applause lines in the history of the Daily Show was when Jon Stewart announced that Claire McCaskill had legitimately raped Todd Aiken in his race for U.S. Senate. Somehow liberals had no problem with that being said that time. Although Stewart did actually delete the clip.
We're not going to talk about that. It was
we did.
Totally different dynamic than that conversation, but it's okay.
Right. Jon Stewart said it very deliberately, whereas R.J. Regan misspoke himself. Yep.
Yeah.
Lauren Turner says the whole feeding the children comment was pretty insulting. Those of us who make do with much less and with many more children. I don't know what that's in reference to. What feeding the children comment?
Oh, Christina, we needed to give her the max salary so she can feed her kids.
Oh gosh.
Oh, is that what she's talking about? Because I thought
that's what
she was talking about on December. Remember on December 2nd in that meeting when we were all on Zoom in the room, and she's like, "All of you sitting there are responsible for the starving children in Michigan."
Yes, that's true. Yes, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
I mean, either way.
On Rumble, Charlotte Cosmic says we need to get House Bill 4499 on the floor for a vote, prohibit 4G/5G from schools and fire departments. We will be getting way back into the swing of things on the legislature starting this week, folks. It's been a calm period, but they are back. They have been introducing more bills, and we will, I'm sure, be talking
There's
on this show later this week.
There's supposed to be a ballot measure that got approved to take back local control from the state as far as the green energy project is supposed to be approved. So,
yeah. Left of Center says, Adam is quick to write me off, Amber. But if you haven't gathered, I'm rather moderate. But what does the Republican Party have to offer me right now? Well, left of center, your name is left of center. Okay, so
I said a better economy. Well,
and I guess I'm running you off again, but
everybody's a voter. I'm not running you off at all.
Okay.
Better economy.
Very good. All right, guys.
Thank you.
That will do it for us for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments. And sorry to anyone whose comments I missed. Thank you, Todd, Andy, Bree, Amber, for joining me. Don't know if we're gonna have a stream during the week this week. I have a feeling we probably will, because there's gonna be some legal documents to review. And maybe I have to do one just about legislation and stuff. So we'll see. And of course, there'll certainly be one this next Sunday. So talk to you all then.
That's a good one. Wait, highlight what Margaret said really fast.
Citizens for Local Control ballot proposal. What's that?
We should talk about that. Oh, then research that and talk about it. It's the ballot proposal that was filed this week. It's actually really interesting. So.
Yeah, that's what I just brought up. So.
Yeah.
Is it? Well, first of all, what does it say?
Well, right now the state can override local townships as far as big green energy projects like solar farms and that.
Oh,
they want to take that back. Yeah, they want to take that back from the state. So, but you know what? That could work out great for us, because the Democrats always win control of the House when there's a big ballot proposal, whether it's abortion or marijuana. If we need a ballot proposal on our side of the fence to drive the Republicans and conservatives back to the polls.
Yeah, I think a lot needs to be done to rein in the utility monopolies in this state. I mean, that would even be a start, but there's a huge amount of work to be done there. I don't know if the proposal is funded or not, but whatever. John Smith says, give Todd a plug for his PAC. You have a PAC, Todd?
Yeah, Lenawee County GOP.
Hey, I might be in Lenawee on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, look me up.
Oh, we gotta get.
And if anybody asks, reach out to me. I'll send you my antidote link.
We gotta get in touch about taking back that 31st House seat too, the Regina Miller seat. There's a township in Lenawee County that's in that district.
Macon Township. Yep.
Yep. Lauren Turner says Christina was weeping to people in the fun about how badly she needed the big salary. Yep. That's what it's all about. All right, guys, we're gonna call it a stream for tonight. Thanks for all you do for liberty, as always. Until next time, peace out.